Good morning, everyone. So today is the first video in our Ask a Makeup Artist series where you ask us a question and we make a full video dedicated to answering your question. Today's question is about how to get your under eye concealer to stop creasing, looking crepey, and settling into fine lines. This is an incredibly common issue that people deal with, and even something I've personally had to figure out better methods to solve as I've gotten older and my skin has changed. The things that I did when I was 20, they don't work anymore. They just don't. So let's dive right into it. So the first thing you want to do is focus on hydrating the under eye area, especially in the morning after you wake up. We all tend to get little sleep lines and creases on our face. What this will do is puff those back out, hydrate the skin so there's not visible crepiness even before you put on the product, because any product that you put on is going to highlight that. I'm going to put a few eye creams that I like up here. The second prep step I recommend for dry, crepey under eyes where concealer is settling and creasing that's often skipped is to use an under eye primer. There aren't that many on the market specifically made for your under eye, but that's because the same issues you're dealing with under your eye, you're also dealing with over your eye. So you're looking for something that is either like a silicone base or silicone-esque, that kind of putty, really smoothing texture. The one I'm going to use today is by CLOVE HALLOW. So right now, probably through the end of 2022, this is actually GWP on our website. So it's a great time to pick it up. But it's got this really smoothing kind of putty texture. You know what I'm saying? You want to use a teeny tiny bit and bring it right where your fine lines are. So mine are right under my lash line that kind of extend out. And then actually, if I'm being honest, mine are also kind of starting to work their way a little lower down from my smile, like what I would call crow's feet. We're using a very small amount of product just to fill in those lines. Now that prep is done, pretty much everything else comes down to your application technique. I'm going to work with our Clover concealer today. When it comes to application, stop using so much product and stop placing it where your fine lines are. That is pretty much the whole strategy. So let me show you in more detail. I've got some concealer on the back of my hand. I'm gonna take a little on a brush. This is part of how you avoid just getting too much product. And I am going to put it exactly where I need it. Instead of applying it up under my eye where all those fine lines are. I put primer there because I'm going to touch that area, but I'm not going to layer the majority of concealer there. I'm just going to do one little line to blend it up right there. But with technique in the past, people would do this full stripe under the eye. They would carry it all the way out here. No. That is way too much product. It will sit heavy on the skin. It will look crepey. It will start to crease over time. Just take a little bit on a brush and tap it exactly where you need. And do you see how brightened and lifted that is? We're gonna repeat on the other eye. I've got it on a brush, so I'm not taking too much product. I'm putting it exactly where I need it. And I think the brush is important too. I like a fluffier style concealer brush. This one's by CLOVE HALLOW, but even just a fluffy eyebrow brush is going to be better than most paddle concealer brushes. Those are best for very, very full coverage, which most people don't need under the eye and will lead to caking and creasing. So same thing on this side. I applied it mostly where the discoloration and dark circles are. And then I just did one little drag out here to blend up under my eye, but I didn't actually apply any product there. If you have significant crow's feet, then you would really not have any product on your brush by the time you blend it out here. That would be the very end blending, and that just means you have minimal product there. And if there's minimal product, there's minimal creasing and highlighting those fine lines. So what if you have really dark circles that just need more coverage, right? So the first thing you're going to do is choose a formula that has fuller coverage like this one by Clover, because you can use significantly less product, which is the #1 reason why concealer doesn't look right on people, because they're using too much because they need to put on a ton to get the coverage they want. So choosing the right concealer is step one, but also you can layer in a color corrector. So something peach or salmon or yellowish, depending on what your skin tone is. Exact same method. Thin amounts, going in with a brush first and keeping it only where you need it in the discoloration, and then layering the concealer on top. That is going to make an enormous, enormous difference. My last tip for a concealer that doesn't crease or gather in your fine lines and look all crepey and gross, we're gonna talk about how to set your under eye. You can set your under eye with a loose powder. You can also set your under eye with a pressed powder, and there are benefits to both. The key here, again, is to not use too much. Full on baking your under eye is better for certain skin types and when you're younger, but if you like it, do it. However, there is a third option, okay? And that third option involves a setting spray. So right here, I've got some Urban Decay All Nighter. Essentially what you would do is when you're applying your concealer in that step that I just did, so this is not a finishing step, this is a step that you would do while applying. You would get the concealer in the back of your hand, do a spritz, get it on your brush, and then apply. So you have the setting spray mixed in with your product. It won't necessarily give you that mattified look that powder will give you, but if you're looking just for longevity that still looks more like natural skin and less like powdered skin, the setting spray method is the way to go. And then of course you can always just do a spritz of the setting spray at the end all over to lock everything in. All right guys, those are all my tips and tricks to fighting off that dry crepey look under your eyes and, you know, making sure your concealer doesn't settle into fine lines and creases. It's not 100% avoidable. Putting makeup on will emphasize texture, but these tips will make it so much less pronounced and so much more manageable for you. Feel free to ask any questions about this video down below and I'll answer them. And don't forget to tune in every Monday to ask your questions on our Instagram so I can make a video like this addressing them for you. All right, guys, bye.